Now, this is a very common question that I get asked by students, that can I pay my fee as an international student in Australia? We've got a separate video on that actually. The purpose of this video is to give you an idea on how majority of the international students, including myself, pay off their student fee. Just a quick disclaimer that it may not apply to all the students. I'm going to discuss about my specific scenario, but as I said, a lot of other students that we speak with have a similar sort of scenario and they manage to pay off their student fee in a similar sort of settings. So without wasting much time, let's get into the video. Now, the first thing first, it'll depend a lot on the type of course that you choose to study, whether you will be able to pay your fee for that or not. So for example, a lot of students who study vocational education, usually their fee is quite low comparing to students who are doing their higher education like bachelor degree or master's degree. So that's one factor to keep in mind. And most of the time, students who are studying vocational education courses, they can usually pay off their student fee while they're still studying here. But for degree and higher education courses, it's quite unlikely that you will be able to pay off by working within the allocated hours. The reason is quite simple. You have work restrictions you have to abide by, which is 48 hours per fortnight or 24 hours per week, especially when your study is in session. You can work unlimited hours during your official school holidays, but that may not be enough, especially because of your higher fee. So the question is, how did I pay off my student fee? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. So first thing first, I'll talk about myself. Just to give you a bit of a context, I come from a middle-class family background from a small town in India. My father works in a bank and my mother is a housewife. So not a very affluent family or rich background, but just everyday average person. So this is important to understand because majority of the students who come to study here come from similar sort of backgrounds. Now, as you would probably know, that studying abroad is an expensive exercise. And we didn't have a lot of savings to come and study. So what did we do? We took a study loan, which again, majority of the students do that as well to study abroad. Not everyone again, but I said majority. We had a little bit of saving, but majority of the fees was actually covered by the loan itself. So what I'm going to do is break down semester by semester on what happened and how I managed to pay it off. So let's start off with the semester 1, which you have to pay your fee for before even you come to Australia. That's the first installment that every international student have to pay even before arriving. And that was paid off majority with the loan and with some savings that we had. I remember on top of my head that my fees was around $7,000 per semester. I know it does not sound a lot at this moment, but just keep in mind the minimum wages back in those days were just $13, $14 as well. And the reality is that when you first land in Australia, you may not be able to get your first job right away. As I mentioned, it's very difficult to get a proper job when you first land here. For me, proper job means with regular work with stable income. Luckily, I had a very good friends who were already here, and for the first month, they did not charge me any expense. For food, for accommodation, nothing. So huge shout out to those friends. As it was a bit of a struggle, I asked one of my friends who was already here to help me find a job. And he referred me for some casual work with one of the agencies. It was actually a hospitality job in an event sector. I was basically doing a running job for delivering food from one area to the other. Now, for the majority of the first semester, I wasn't able to find a proper job. So I was basically doing some casual jobs here and there. I actually applied for the July intake, but my visa got delayed. So I came in November. Not the most ideal intake to come to Australia for your studies. I have explained that in one of our previous videos. If you would like to watch it, we'll leave a link of that in the description box below. But luckily enough, I managed to pay off my living expenses for the rest of the semester 1 by working these casual jobs. Now comes the semester 2, which starts in around March. And the second installment also came in from the bank loan. During the second semester, I continued working some casual jobs from dishwashing to warehousing to picking, packing, and everything else you can imagine. By the way, we were only allowed to work 20 hours per week, not 24 hours. And I was also focused on only working allowed number of hours, which was 20 hours per week, because I had an example of one of my other friend who in a previous semester just failed one of the subject and had to pay thousands of dollars to cover that. He probably was too focused on work, not on his studies, and he ended up failing one of the subject. So for me, it didn't make much sense to work so hard and then end up paying all this money in penalties or fee. Now again, for this semester, I managed to pay off my living expenses, but not much of a saving. Then comes the semester 3, which is July semester. And guess what? Third installment also came from the bank loan. I managed to make a very little contribution to that payment, maybe a few $100s, but majority of it came again from the bank loan. And it was a bit of a tough time for me because the friends who I was living with, they were all doing vocational courses. And as I mentioned earlier, vocational courses usually have a lower fee than the university degrees. So they were paying off all their fee and they're having quite a lot of fun, while me in a university getting stressed out about my assignments and exams and was unable to pay off my fee as well. To be honest, I wasn't feeling great about it. At one point in time, I also thought of changing my course, which luckily my parents advised me not to. And I took that advice on board and kept doing the course. But taking their advice and not changing my course paid off in a huge way, which I'll tell you later in the video. Although in semester 3, the things start to change, especially in a positive way for me. So after a couple of semesters working casual and odd jobs, I managed to get a proper stable job at Woolworths, which is a national supermarket here in Australia, where I would work for the next 7 years. So I started working in Woolworths from July 2007. And at this point in time, I was also getting hold of other things as well. Like I was doing quite well in my university course, and at the same time, I got a decent job and things start to roll on in a right direction. Now the biggest break came in next semester. Next semester, which is a November intake, I took the whole semester off. And you can too. It depends upon the university, but majority of the students take a semester off during summer or November. So I had that choice and I definitely wanted to take that on. It was not just for work requirements, but actually you need to meet a 16-month Australian study requirement as well, especially if you're planning to apply for further visas. If I would have taken that semester, it might have reduced that time frame for me. So I took a whole semester off in November, which was like 4 months. This is where I worked crazy amount of hours. I have a lot of funny memories from that specific time frame. Maybe I can discuss some of these crazy stories and funny stories in some other video. If you would like me to make one, please let me know in the comments below. I've got plenty of them. Not only that, I managed to save enough money also to travel back home and stay there for a few weeks as well before the start of the next semester. So yeah, in came in the last semester, which started in February, March again. As I said, I managed to pay off the whole fee myself. And honestly, I took it a little bit easier as well because this was the last semester. I really wanted to enjoy it as well. So I did a bit of traveling around Australia as well with my friends. And also it was a good time to plan for the next steps in the life. What I really wanted to do with my life in Australia. I also started working on my network, started attending some events, became part of some student associations, and started working on my English skills as well, which is how I actually managed to get my permanent residency as well. So that semester ended in around June. I had a visa until 15th of March next year. It's interesting, some of you may not know that most of the student visas expires on the 15th of March. The reason being quite simple, that Australian academic year ends in November or December, and the government gives you few months to do your graduation, to prepare for any final things that you need to do, and plan for your next visa as well, in case you would like to apply for one. So after graduation, I continued working full-time hours, which you can obviously work as you have a right to do so, unless there is some specific restriction on your visa, which I suggest you to check with the Department of Home Affairs. And you can do it by doing a Vivo check yourself as well, which if you want to watch, we have a video on that too. Now I did work full-time hours, but I did not go crazy as I did in one of the earlier semesters, as I was focused on building my career here. So I spent my time preparing myself for my English test and also preparing for my career and applying for few jobs in my own industry as well. Luckily, I managed to get 7 scores in each of the 4 components of IELTS test, and that helped me to apply for my permanent residency. Now you might have this question in your mind, what happened to the fee then? You still have to pay off the 3 installments that you took from the bank loan. It just took me a 1 year of full-time work to pay off the whole fee. And that's very important thing to keep in mind, because back then we didn't have these post-study work visas as well. These days you can get up to 4 years of post-study work visas as well, depending upon the course and the location of the course as well. And that is how many international students manage to pay off their student fee as well, which is taking on the student loan for studying abroad and paying it off during the post-study work visas. But just keep in mind that every international story and their journey is different. Some may be able to do better in their life than others. And that's just life. Now you might be wondering what happened to that advice that I took from my parents and not changed my course, and that paid off really well. I mentioned that in earlier part. The payoff was that I got my permanent residency before all those friends that were living with me. Some of them even came to Australia earlier than me. But because they changed their courses and did this and that, it took some of them quite a long time to get that sorted. And some of them even couldn't get it. But again, that's just life. So hopefully this video gave you a bit of an idea and inspiration on how people pay their student fee. I would love to hear your thoughts regarding this as well. And what plan do you have if you are planning to study here? And if you have already completed your studies, I would love to hear your thoughts as well. Feel free to check out some other resources on our website, and we'll leave a link of them in the description box below as well. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.